My V. Oh, I think it's on. Is it on now? Good morning. I'm just going to say a little prayer. It comes from Psalm 19, verse 14. Sorry. Lord, may these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Thank you, Jesus. Okay. I'm going to try really hard not to breathe too hard in this thing. I don't know how Pastor does it all the time. So we are here for suicide awareness. I have a little bee. My friend Megan made me my bee. Then bees remind me of Hogan. So he's going to sit up here with me for today. So September is Suicide Awareness Month, the whole month. So at any time today, just stop and think of someone that's struggling and talk to them. I'm going to start by telling y'all a little bit about Hogan. So Brittany, if you want to go ahead and change their slide, we'll get a few pictures of him. So Hogan was super smart. He loved to learn things. He just wanted to know things. He wouldn't let me read picture books to him after he was 2. I think he was 2. He said, you got to read chapter books. So I had to find chapter books that were appropriate for boys that were 2 and 3 years old that I could read to him at night. He was funny. He loved his family. You can go ahead to the next one. He loved baseball. He loved everything about the Braves. He could tell you any statistic. When he was little, he loved the presidents. He would learn facts to know about the presidents. So that he came home one day from school and he was like, Mama, my teacher was wrong. She said that Washington had wooden teeth. It wasn't just wooden. He went through what all they were made of. And I was like, okay. I was like, don't correct your teacher. He's like, no, I didn't. Because he was really good in school. He didn't want to get in trouble ever. You can go ahead to the next one, Brittany. He loved the Blueberry Festival in Elma. He would participate in the pie eating contest every year. So that middle picture is him. He won a medal for coming in one of the top 3 from finishing his blueberry. And he would have to practice the night before and smother chocolate all over his face. And that was his practice on how to eat blueberry pie, because the more he got a mess, the better off he did. I was like, okay. He loved to go fishing. He loved his grandparents and spending time with them. When he got older, he was skinnier. He was a tiny little thing. He could put his thumbs on his hips and cross his fingers. He was that little, and I don't know where he got it from. It wasn't me. And tall and lanky. But he's just a normal kid. You know, he wasn't perfect. He was a bit ahead a lot of times because that's what teenagers do, you know, but just a normal kid on his baseball team, just loved everything. You could go to the next one. He loved his baby sister. Oh, he loved Lincoln. He was the first to hold her and would just hold her and cuddle her. When she got bigger, he always wanted to snuggle with her and give her hugs, and she would pat him on the back and push him away. But he just loved her. You can go to the next one. Always hugging on her. always wanting to give her hugs. And like I said, she didn't have time for that. She was too busy. But he was my hugger. He was the one who wanted to give hugs. He never stopped giving me hugs. He would crawl in my lap. As tall as he was, 5'10" maybe, 5'9", he would crawl in my lap and he would sit in my lap. I'm 5'4", so there's a big difference, and he would still want to crawl and sit in Mama's lap. But yeah, he just loved his baby sister. He talked about all the things he was going to teach her, all the bad movies he was going to let her watch before she was old enough to understand, and just thought the world of her. And he loved his family. He loved his grandma and grandpa. He'd always ask everybody, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He was the one who was always checking on people and asking people, "Is everything okay, Mama? Is everything all right?" And then one night in November, the 19th, it was the Thursday before Thanksgiving of 2020. I had a hard week at work. I hadn't been home very much, came home late, went to work early. But that Thursday, everything was finished. I came home early, and he had baseball practice, and went to baseball practice. He came home, and he was talking to my husband, Jared, about what all they did and how his legs were hurt because they made him do all kinds of stuff. And he went back in his room, and he came back out a little while later and was looking for food. And he asked if he could go to McDonald's, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Lincoln was playing around me. She was a little over 2, and she was playing, and we had a couch that would lift up. The feet would lift up with the automatic thing, so she was making me go up and down, up and down. And I was sitting there talking to him as I'm going up and down, up and down. And I was like, he looked pale. So I asked him, I said, "Are you okay?" "Yeah." I said, "How was school?" "It was fine." "How was baseball?" "It was fine, Mama." I said, "Well, I hadn't seen you in a little while. Can I have a hug?" And he was like, "I'll give you a hug in a little while." I said, "Okay." And he gave me this little grin that he would do. Then he goes back to his room. And a little while later, he comes back out, and he's going to McDonald's, and he asked if any of us want anything, and we said no, that we were good. And as he left, we noticed that his tail light was all out in his truck, and me and Jared was sitting out there, and I was thinking, is he going to see friends, or you think he's going to go see a girl? Then, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes later, I get a text from my mama asking where Hogan is. He had sent my mama and my daddy, a text saying that he loved them and he wouldn't answer the phone. So I left Lincoln and Jared at home, and I got in the car, and as I drive at the end of my driveway, I can go right and go to town, or I could go left and go down the dirt road that we have. So I stopped, and I remember in that second going, I should go left. And then I was like, no, he said he was going to McDonald's. So I went right. And I went to every McDonald's in Huntsville. And I just prayed. Lord, let him be okay. Let him be okay. And couldn't find him. I rode through every McDonald's. And I was on the phone with Jared and my mama and going back and forth. And then, I was on my way back home because I couldn't find him. And instead of turning on my drive, I went straight down. So if I would have turned left. And I went down a little ways, and there was his truck. It was sitting parked, still running. I heard the music, and my heart just went, oh, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. I got out of the car, and I walked up, and I knocked on the window, and I said, you had everybody worried. And I opened the door, and he just slumped. It never gets easier to tell it. And I called Jared and told him to come down. And then I called 911. And they asked if I could do CPR. And I told him I don't know if I could take him out of the truck. He's, so much taller than I was. But somehow I got him out. And I started doing CPR. And I just pray. And a detective, an off-duty detective, heard the call come in, and he was close, so he came. He was the first one there with me, and he took over doing the CPR. And I just held his little arm, and I would just rub it and tell him it's going to be okay, baby. And I would pray, Lord, I know you're the God of miracles. And I know that you can bring him back. And Jared got there. And they brought an ambulance. All the police got there, and they made me quit touching him. So I was just sitting on the ground. At some point, I called my mama and told her they needed to come. Then they made me leave where I couldn't see him. I had to go to the ambulance. I texted my management group at my work, and I told them, and they started calling immediately, and I was like, I can't deal with any of this. And I went home. They took me home. And I was sitting outside. And I was just numb. I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what to think. And most of the managers of where I worked showed up at my house at 10:30. And they didn't want to do anything other than give me a hug and tell me that they loved me and that they were here for me. And the next few days, I was just in a fog. I didn't know. I couldn't believe it. No one ever thinks you have to plan a funeral and where are the pictures? You got to find pictures of him. And what songs do we want to play? And people at my work came and sit with me so I wouldn't be alone. My best friend, Paul, was there. She just sat, wouldn't say anything unless I wanted to talk, because that's what I needed. I needed somebody there, but wouldn't ask me questions or wouldn't force me to talk. And then if I wanted to say something, she'd listen. If I didn't say anything, she was fine. Sorry. So, afterwards, we did the funeral. The funeral was the day before Thanksgiving. The next day, I set out. I went to he's buried at Olivet Cemetery, and I went out there and I just sat on the ground and just sat there. And they leave all the flowers and stuff, and I was just sitting there. And a little bee was on one of the flowers, and it wasn't moving. And I was like, oh man, this bee's dead, I was like, so I shook the leaf and it started crawling. And the whole time I was out there, that little bee never left. He stayed there. He'd fly to another little petal and he'd stay. It was like he was sitting with me. The next day I went out there and I was like, I wonder if that bee's going to be there. And it was a different spot, but that same little bumblebee was right there. And that's why the bees remind me so much of Hogan, because I feel like that was a sign I'm not alone. And in those moments, you can't think of things like that. God works all things out for the good, but in those moments, I didn't want to hear that. How could this ever be good? So I had not been in church for a while. And that happened in November and July, because I'd stop and see Hogan every day. And in July, or I think it was June, I noticed a big sign out there by the convenience store. And it talked about a 4th of July thing at a church. And I had been talking to Paula at work, and I was like, I need to find a church. If nothing, I thought I was just going to find one for Lincoln, get Lincoln out. COVID, she didn't ever get any. So I said, yeah, let's try this church. So Paula came with me, because I couldn't go anywhere really by myself with people, because I couldn't ask questions. I couldn't look people in the eye, really. So she came with me that first Sunday. And we sat back over there, and everyone came and, talked to me and gave me hugs, and they were super nice. Everybody's super nice. And I was like, oh, this is great. And so I brought Lincoln, and still never told anybody anything, never talked to really a lot of people. I just sit back there, and I was thinking, oh, this is just for Lincoln. And the more I came, the more people would talk to me, and I came on a Tuesday. We used to have prayer on Tuesday. And I told the people in the prayer circle what had happened. And I told them down to the day, how many days it had been. I can't drive at night. I still can't. It'll be 5 years this year. I can't eat McDonald's. Thinking about it makes me sick. I miss him every day. There's not a day that goes by that I do not miss him. And I might look like I'm doing great. And I might look like everything, she's got it together, but I promise there are times when all I do is want to cry. And it's so hard to get out of the bed. But I have hope. I have hope that I will see him again, because I know where he's at, and he's waiting for me, and I will see him again, and I will get that hug that he told me I was going to get. So let's talk about some of the statistics. So we have over 49,000 people died by suicide in 2023. That's one death every 11 minutes. And that's not a number, guys. That's a person. And that's a mama, a daddy, a brother, a son, a daughter. Every one of those deaths affects someone the way that it affects me. There's 1.5 million attempts of suicide. 1.5 million people tried. 3.7 million made a plan, and 12.8 million seriously thought about suicide. So there's people in this room right now who have thought about it. Why do we not talk about it more? I threw this little graph in to show that this is from 10 to 24-year-olds. And the blue, the one that goes up a little bit more, that's the suicide. So there, you have more suicides in 21 than you did deaths by homicides. But either one, guys, either one How is our mental health in this country? We don't talk about it. It's something we can condition each other not to talk about it. It's okay for you to go to the hospital and get your arm seen about if you break it, but it's not okay to talk about how you might have feelings and thoughts of suicide. And we make it this taboo and this, oh, don't say that. Go ahead, Brittany. So this is the total death for the year. Suicide's number 2. The first one is unintentional. So they've got all kind, they have car wrecks and drownings, and everything is in that category. And then the second one is suicide. You go ahead, Brittany. If you notice the green, I know it's hard to read, but the green is the suicide. So if you notice number 2 for 3 categories in a row, that would be from 10-year-olds all the way to, I think it's 34-year-olds. Second leading cause of death, 10 to 34. Go ahead. The CDC, actually, I didn't have to change this from last year. It stayed the same. The only thing I had to change from this slide from last year is where it says the top 8 leading death. Last year, it was the 9. So it's went up. So now it's the top 8 leading cause of death from 10 to 64. In Georgia, so I thought, well, we live in Georgia, might as well speak a little bit about Georgia, right? In Georgia, we have, is ranked 34 in suicide death. This was in 2020. The data is always old. Go to the next slide, Brittany. I do have a little thing about the crude death rate, which is that's not verified yet. This data is not verified yet. But it says suicide increased from the 3-month period from the end of quarter 3 to quarter 3 of 2024. It increased from 5 and 14-year-olds. Why they have a 5-year, 5, guys. All right, let's talk about some myths. The myth, talking about or using the word suicide will cause it to happen. The fact is, talking about it may be the only thing that will prevent it. Myth, no one can stop a suicide. It's inevitable. Fact, if people in a crisis get the help they need, they will probably never be suicidal again. Myth, confronting someone about it will only make them angry and increase the risk. Fact, asking someone directly about intents lowers anxiety, opens up communication, and lowers the risk of impulse act. Myth, only experts can prevent suicide. The fact, suicide prevention is everybody's responsibility, and anyone can help prevent them. Myth, those who talk about suicide don't do it. The fact, people who talk about it may attempt an act of self-destruction. Myth, once a person decides to attempt suicide, there is nothing anyone can do to stop them. The fact is that suicide is the most preventable kind of death, and almost any positive action may save a life. I remember a guy was talking right after they put the net under the bridge in San Francisco, and he made the comment, well, they're just going to do it again. And of course, you don't think about it. If you don't have it, you don't realize what you're saying to people. I didn't get offended. I just told them, I wish I would have had it. Because then if it gives the family members an hour to know what they were planning, if 5 minutes even to know, if I had 5 minutes to know, what was going to happen. God had done everything in my power. But we didn't know. We didn't know. We don't know why. That's why we do avoid the why. Talk to your kids, talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, talk to anybody that you love and ask them the hard questions. Don't beat around the bush about it. Ask them, do you want to hurt yourself? That's what you have to do, guys. You can't be tiptoeing around it. You can't take just 5. I would have much rather him have been mad at me because I pried into what was going on and have him here. What to do if you think someone may be thinking about suicide? You take it seriously. You take it seriously. If somebody says to you, I think I'd be better off without me, talk to them. Dig deeper. You talk about it. Bring light to the darkness, because right now it's all darkness, and we need some light shined on this. You talk carefully about it, and you talk about it directly, and you say, what are you exactly feeling? How do you exactly feel? You ask them questions. Have you come up with a way? Do you have the things to do this? When were you thinking of doing this? If they answer yes to any of those, yeah, I came up with a way. Oh, yeah, I got some stuff. Call 911 and stay with them. Stay with them. Y'all, we're supposed to be like Christ and show love. And when you love someone, you be there with them. You take it on with them. You don't judge them. You talk to them and you love them. And you stay with them. Love them the way you want to be loved. Because if you were in that position, you would want someone to be there with you and to be able to help carry that burden. And to tell them about Jesus. Because Jesus will never leave you, and he will never forsake you. It says it over and over in the Bible. He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us. I have everything I have has Deuteronomy 31:8 on my shirts and everything. And I'll read you what that says. It says, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. He is always with us. He's always with us. I did a little bit of looking to, I looked at 2 Corinthians. And Paul's writing this letter in chapter 4. He's saying that he's pressed but not crushed, persecuted but not abandoned. Who knows that song? Trading my sorrows. That's what he says in chapter 4, guys. He says that we were hard pressed on every side but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. That's chapter 5. We go back to chapter 1. He says, we are under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. He has delivered us from such deadly peril, and he deliver us again. On him we have set our hopes that he will continue to deliver us. But he was He was pressured beyond the ability to endure. That's chapter 1. Chapter 4 says he's pressed but not crushed. Chapter 1 said he despairs of life itself. Chapter 2 said they're perplexed but not in despair. Chapter 1 said that he received the sentence of death. And then chapter 4 said that he was struck down but not destroyed. What's the difference? He had hindsight. He held on. He knew that God was with him. He was with him and he would give him the strength, which means that we know God is with us and he will give us the strength. Y'all, that night that I was sitting on the side of the road, rubbing my baby's arm, praying for a miracle, God was standing right beside me. He was right behind me. And he had his arms around me. Because Jesus wept too. So I was not alone. The only reason why I'm still here is because God, he's the one who gives me the peace and the strength to go on every single day and to spread this message of hope and to stay. We are all broken. All of us are broken people. We're all broken, but if we have God with us, y'all, I heard the story of a jazz piano player. His name's Keith Jarrett. And in 1975, he was supposed to do a concert in Cologne, Germany. So 1975, he's going to do this concert. And he tells him, I need this kind of piano. It's got to be just like this. Well, he gets there, and there's some sort of communication mix-up, and the only piano there is broke. The keys aren't working good. The pedals are sticking. You know, it's just, not the greatest piano. Somehow they convince him to go ahead and play it, though. So he and his producer decide, you know what, we're going to record this so that we can give it to all the other people who want him to come play, and we're going to show him, if you don't give him what he wants, this is what it's going to sound like. So he gets up there and he starts to play, and it's magic. That recording is the most selling live jazz piano album of all time. The point of that is even a broken instrument can make beautiful music in the hands of the master. So we are all broken. And if you just give yourself to God, he makes the most beautiful music with the people that are the most broken. So that is this year. And please, guys, go back to the table. Take everything. If you would just take it and leave it places. Because my hope is that it reaches the people that it needs to reach. I pray over it. I have cards back there with his picture on it, just everywhere. There's book bags, everything's back there. And just give them to people, random people, leave it in a store. Wherever you want to put it is fine. But just go take some stuff. You don't have to pay me anything. I mean, if you want to put something in, that's fine. But if you don't, that's fine. If you will just take it and leave it. Because just that one person that gets this card, or that sees the sticker that says that you matter, because each person matters. So when you go home today, at any point, if you thought of somebody while I was talking, any point you thought, oh, this, just their name popped in your head, call them, text them, go see them, ask them how they're doing. Take them some of the stuff back there. Tell them about me. Because a lot of times they feel like that they're just a burden. They're just a burden, and if If I wasn't here, it would be better, and I promise it's not. And you can use me as an example. My life is not better because he's not here. It's different. God's got me on a whole different path than what I would have ever thought. But it's not better. And I'll trade it all in if I could have him back. So please give somebody a hug. Tell somebody you love them. Call them. Check on them. Don't be scared to ask those questions, guys. We've got to be bold, and we've got to be able to ask these questions. And even go as far as, do you feel like you want to hurt yourself or others? Because I promise if someone would have stopped and talked to that 22-year-old boy and asked him, are you okay? Let me tell you about my Jesus. We might still have Charlie Kirk today. So, please talk to people. And I appreciate everybody being here. Thank y'all so much. And I love y'all. And that's it.